Well, here we are in part one, and the whole objective is to make beautiful and compelling virtual presentations, epic presentations. And I love the first slide. It's just gorgeous. I'm going to talk more about this image as we progress. Now, before we get started on anything, here's a very important topic. It's this idea of chunking. And I mean, think about your own experiences. You're looking for advice on how to do something, and you click on YouTube and you see that you have a number of choices in terms of videos. And one of them is 3 minutes long, and one of them is 8 minutes long, and one of them is 15 minutes long. I bet a lot of you are not going to watch that 15-minute long video. I know I don't. I'm generally going to go for the 3 or the 8. And so if you have a large topic that you want to dissect, like this one, for instance, break it up into small chunks. I teach a technology class, and when I think about epic virtual presentations, I would have taken this presentation and broke it up into smaller chunks. And I've done that to a certain extent and delivered them individually. So, if you have a big topic, and I like this 10-minute threshold. I mean, that just seems to be like this magic number where people start to say, oh, that's too long. I mean, are you going to watch a 40-minute TED Talk? I don't think so. So learn from the TED Talk experts about people's attention span, and keep your videos under 10 minutes. And there's nothing wrong with a 5-minute video or a 3-minute video. Now, part one is going to cover 3 topics. We're going to take a look at a template for a typical virtual presentation. And you can use this template also in a planning mode. And then we're going to focus on slides, my favorite topic, the slides, making the slides beautiful, making the slides compelling, making the slides provocative. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to take this slide presentation and turn it into a video that you can upload to YouTube. And that's the logistics part, which is not going to be that hard. I promise you. Okay, this is my virtual presentation template. It's also my in-person presentation template. I want to hook my audience. I want to hook my audience not only to capture their engagement, to get them focused, to get them interesting, but also to bring relevance to whatever topic that I'm discussing. In other words, if you hook them and hook them with relevance, if you make them think about their own lives, then all of a sudden your lesson has a lot more impact. Now, in the midst of the lesson, when I'm communicating ideas, I do pretty much the same thing. I keep provoking the audience to think about things, applying it to their real lives. But I use these wonderful slides in the midst of the presentation with great ideas. And finally, I want to challenge them to do something. And you're going to find elements of each one of these 3 aspects of the template throughout this presentation. And I'll identify them some, but I think they're going to be pretty obvious. Oh, I think this is the first challenge. It is the first challenge. And feel free to, after I give you your instructions here, just to stop and step away from this video and work on a little bit. That's what I would do. Now, here's prompt 1-1, and this is going to be the planning phase. And some of you really sharp people say, well, look, man, he's got hook second and, idea first. What's up with that? Well, I mean, you want to figure out what your lesson is. You want to figure out what the topic is before you figure out the hook. I mean, the hook can come last for that matter. But what I'd like you to do is go through your curriculum. And I would take a relatively minor idea or a small idea, because you want to start small and build on this. And I want you to think about some ideas that you want to promote in this lesson. And then I want you to try to think about something that could hook your audience, something that might take this lesson and make it relevant to their lives. That's tough. And then I want you to think of a challenge, something that your students, your audience is going to do with this information, with these ideas. Good luck. Okay, you're back from your challenge, your prompt 1-1, your challenge at the end of that section, or at the end of that topic. Now we're going to dive in the slides, and this is magical to me. I mean, look at this slide. Look at that slide. I mean, don't you just want to go up and just be in that setting? Aren't you intrigued as to why maybe the photographer took that picture, or what the presenter's trying to um, promote by presenting this picture? That's what really provocative, beautiful, engaging, epic slides do, and that's what we want to aim for, because it beats the heck out of this. You know, it's amazing. I looked up busy slides, and this was one of the ones that came up, and I love this example because I hate this example. And I've been confronted with this many times. Look at how much text is on this slide. And not only that, but the background is highly disruptive to your ability to kind of figure out what the heck's going on there. I used the example in the hook video of watching a movie with subtitles. It's black and white, and the subtitles are in white, and you're spending so much time trying to read the subtitles that you're missing the message. Now, there's a heck of a lot of text on this slide. And apparently, this presenter is reading this stuff. So you're having to listen to this person and read at the same time. It's just not the way to go. So you might wonder, like, well, have you always put together beautiful slides? Confession time. No, I used to put together slides like you just saw. And then about maybe a little less than a decade ago, I read this book called Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds, and it really impacted me. I highly encourage this book. It's fantastic. And the point is that you want to make your slides beautiful and compelling and provocative. And the way you do that is you put on tremendous images and you drastically limit the amount of text on each slide. That's the book in a nutshell right there. And obviously the goal is to make them beautiful. So we're going to work on that some in this section. Now this is a great example of a presentation Zen like slide. It's got the number 15 up there. Now if I'm you, I'm saying, okay, this 15 is a pretty important message in this slide. I don't know what this 15 is supposed to represent. And you probably wonder, what's 15 represent? Okay, enough. I'm going to tell you what 15 represents. I did a little research on the average length of a sentence. And what I came up with is 15 to 20 words. So I'm going to go on the low end of that range. I'm going to say 15. You should never have more than 15 words in on a slide. Never. I mean, and most of my slides on this presentation have less than 5. So 15 is a painful threshold. You're getting over 15, you're asking your audience to do a lot. So let's keep it under 15. Okay. What's up with this? Well, I'm sure that I have some. I'm just going to shut up for a second. Just look at it. Okay. I'm sure I have some smart observers in the audience, and they probably figured out pretty quickly that that's the number 40 written out 40 times. It's a pretty bland looking slide. And what's more, that is the average number of words on your typical PowerPoint slide. That's a lot of words. I mean, it's the same word over and over again, so you guys could consume it really quickly, but imagine if they were all different words, which they generally are. So we need to bag that first blue complicated slide I showed you, and we need to move on to something better. Now, this is a wonderful example of a hook slide that I used in class. It was a world civilization class. We were talking about Buddhism. And this image right here is magnificent. My son is a wonderful artist. He painted this picture. I took a picture of his picture and kept it because I just love it. And we're getting ready to talk about Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, the awakened one. And my students were treated to this picture, which they thought was interesting. And the hook prompts were, which I verbalized, were, who is this? What is this person doing? Why did the artist paint this picture? And I let them stew on these prompts for a few minutes and then start collaborating with one another. And a lot of them had some amazing insights. Now, what I love about hook slides like this is it primes the pump. It gets students prepared to dive into these ideas further. Now, this is one of my images. Don't get uptight if you think, well, I don't have images like that. I'll get to that. Just bear with me for a few minutes. Here's another one of my images. I love this image. I have these boxwoods out in front of my house, and I just pruned them one time. They got too big, and I just pruned them. And I mean, I pruned them significantly. I was worried that I went overboard. I was worried that I killed the poor things. I mean, they were nothing but like these bland sticks for a long time. And then I went out one morning and I was overjoyed to see these green shoots popping off these what I thought were dormant, if not dead stems. Now, this was this magical moment of bouncing back. And in the midst of one presentation, I was talking about a civilization that was bouncing back from a war or an economic downturn or some type of natural disaster. And I used this slide. And then I prompted students to talk about times when they perhaps have bounced back. And all of a sudden, that idea in the presentation became much richer, had more impact, had more relevancy. Here's another one that I took. And again, you guys might be saying that's kind of a neat. I love this picture. I think it's a neat picture, and I did take it. During the COVID-19, my wife and I became, experimenters in the kitchen, and I've always liked hot food, as in spicy. And so I bought these dried red chili peppers, and I started putting them in things. And what I noticed was the intensity of my food went, and I really enjoyed it. I started using them a lot. I mean, some people don't appreciate hot peppers and things, but I do. So this was a story about intensity, and it was a story in history about a person that wouldn't give up, that really gave their all at certain times, and their intensity in the end paid off. And so then I, once again challenged my students to talk about when they had to utilize intensity and how it worked out for them, positive or negative. And it turned out to be some great conversations. Now, you looked at those last 3 slides, and those were images that were right from my smartphone. And you might say, well, I don't really have images like that. No worries, man. I mean, PowerPoint takes care of you. I mean, look at this image. That's better than anything I've ever taken. And these images are readily available to you on PowerPoint. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to get these images momentarily, but don't worry if you don't have these fabulous images on your phone. And guess what? Don't worry about copyright issues because these images are available to you utilizing PowerPoint. So here's my theory on this. I could take some images from my phone, and I have a few good ones, but not many. Very few that I can actually use that I think are going to look great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to usher in the Microsoft experts. I mean, why not let the experts create like this magnificent presentation for you? Here's the analogy I'm going to give you. So you have a home project that needs done, and you have 2 options. You can do it yourself, or you can hire this magnificent contractor. Well, you might save money and do it yourself. But what would happen if the contractor said, you know what, I'll do it for free? I think he'd be, I think he'd be wrong not to take them up on that offer. So that's what you have with PowerPoint. You have these magnificent Microsoft images and designers who are there and waiting to make your presentation really awesome. So if you look at the top ribbon, you're going to see two tabs. One is insert. Hit that insert button and you can see all types of images. You can upload an image, but also you can get stock images. You can bring images in from the internet that have the attribution on them. You can find shapes. I mean, there's virtually nothing you can't find there, and you can just insert it right into your PowerPoint slide. It's going to look fantastic. One thing that I experienced when I started working with PowerPoint is I still thought I didn't want my slides to be too busy, but I thought they were too bland. This design tab is magnificent because when you hit that, it says design suggestions, and it has numerous design suggestions. And if you take them up on their design suggestions, you're going to have something that looks really cool. Wow, here comes another challenge. And I love this challenge. And if you can look in the back, you see the clover. And I'm somebody I want my grass to look nice. I don't want broadleaf clover in my grass. So I tend to look at clover negatively, but when I look at this picture, clover looks awesome. So that's another provocative slide where you take something that you didn't necessarily think looked good and then look at it in a different light. I love that. Okay, enough of that. Here's the prompt. Here's where you can, pause the video, step away, work on this. And this might take you a little time, but I think you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. I want you to create 3 PowerPoint slides. And I want you to think about an idea that you want to promote in your video, maybe from prompt 1.1 or the hook or the challenge. Take one of those ideas, or maybe you could take all 3. It's totally up to you. And I want you to find images that match those. And they don't have to match directly. They could be something like my chili peppers and intensity. I mean, it could be kind of like remotely attached, but inspire a lot of conversation among your students. So on one slide, I want you to find a personal image. If you don't have a good personal image, take your phone out and take a picture. Yeah, not of yourself, but of something interesting, like a tree or a blade of grass, or I don't know, something. Something. It's up to you. And then finally, then next I want you to take some stock images, hit the insert pictures and check out stock images. Then I want you to try a shape or an icon. Now, with all 3 of these slides, once you have the images you want, I want you to try the design ideas because that's going to make your slide look awesome. All right, now finally, I want to talk some logistics here, how you can take this PowerPoint slide and turn it into a video and eventually upload it to YouTube and then deliver it to your students. But I'm going to talk about a little important logistics here, and don't worry, this stuff is not tough, but I think you're going to benefit from this portion. Now, one thing that I haven't talked about is my talking head. With sparse slides, with slides with not much text on them, you're going to have to fill the gap. You're going to have to make these slides come to life. You're going to have to give students some direction. You have to fill in the blanks. And so I'm going to describe how you can insert your talking head onto your PowerPoint. First of all, you go to the Slideshow tab. And then when you're given the option, you want to choose Record Slideshow. Now, one thing that I think should be evident is on this slide, I made sure that the background behind me was pretty dark and the light was in front of me. I can't get over how I'm watching news programs and they're interviewing somebody at home and there's a window behind them and they look like a silhouette. So don't make that mistake. Make your make your face clear, make sure the house is quiet, all that stuff. But this will insert your image into every slide and just talk your way through the presentation. After you're done, you want to take your slide presentation and create it into a video. Hit the File tab, and then as you can see down there on the left, you select Export, and then you create a video, and then you hit Create Video again. And it does take a little while to do it. I mean, the first time I did it, I was like, did I do that right? So, I mean, give it some time, particularly if it's like a 10-minute video. It'll take a while for it to show up on your desktop. Okay, here we go. This is prompt number 3. I want you to take the 3 slides that you created before, and I want you to insert your talking head into those slides. And then once you have completed that, I want you to create a video on your desktop that is ready to share up to YouTube. All right, man, we're ready to move on.